the Science Guy.
Bill Nye, the Science Guy.
Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Here we can see Dr. Frosty at work crafting a special love potion.
Yes, I think I finally got it. With this love potion, she'll finally love me.
Well, it looks like you can't make someone fall in love with a simple potion.
Science is pain.
But you can learn a lot about love through psychology.
Today we're breaking down the science of crushes,
Why they happen,
how they affect your brain.
and why sometimes they can make you feel, well, like this.
Sorry.
Girl.
Okay. Bye.
Let's talk about something we've all been through. Crushes. You know the feeling. 1 second you're chilling and then BAM! You see someone you like and your brain feels like an amusement park, stomach churning in awe. It's a feeling many of us share. But here's the thing. While crushes may seem super common, they are also super confusing.
Crush is confusing because people gonna think that you're cheating on people with other girls. I think a crush is shy because you could barely talk to them. I think it's scary because when you get your first kiss, that's smooch gonna be like hard. It's gonna be like.
Many of us experience crushes, but yet that doesn't mean we understand why we feel the way we do and how to go about having them. Things only get worse when we try to understand because of the unrealistic portrayals we see in the media, peer pressure, and even the way the adults talk, or shall I say, don't talk about relationships that only add to the confusion. You see, crushes aren't solely about liking someone. In fact, if not managed correctly, they can lead to unrealistic expectations, emotional dependence, and even a depreciated self-worth. So what's really going on in our brain when we have a crush? And how can we ensure that we understand these emotions in a healthy way instead of letting them control us? Let's break it down. Okay, so when you have a crush, your brain goes into overdrive. It's activating something called the reward system. Basically, your brain's way of saying, hey, this person, yeah, they're special. And it does this by releasing a mixture of chemicals that make you feel a lot of different things. The first chemical is dopamine, which is like a little messenger in your brain to make you feel happy. Whenever you feel good after winning a game, eating a delicious ice cream cone, or the joy of being around your crush, that's dopamine at work. On the other hand, we have cortisol, the little stress messenger in the brain. Have you ever felt nervous, sweaty, unable to think around your crush? You can thank cortisol. Finally, we have oxytocin, what can sometimes be called the love or cuddle chemical. Oxytocin is what activates to make you feel loved. When you cuddle with a pet or get a hug from your favorite person, oxytocin helps create that warm and fuzzy feeling. So these are the little guys who make us feel the way we do, and it's why crushes can feel so thrilling yet terrifying at the same time. Ever wonder why crushes feel like the biggest deal in the world when you're a teenager? Well, science actually explains that too. During early adolescence, your brain is still developing, especially the prefrontal cortex, which is in charge of decision-making and self-control. At the same time, hormones like testosterone, oxytocin, and dopamine are skyrocketing, making emotions feel way more intense. Researchers found that this combo makes teens more impulsive and more likely to take emotional risks, like sending a cringy text to a crush at 2 a.m. because it feels like a good idea in the moment. But why do we even have these hormones in the first place? Our brains are programmed to notice people who might be a good match for us. Even if you aren't thinking about marriage and kids, when you have a crush on someone, it's a response to your liking things like their looks, voice, and even smell. Psychologists have found 5 main factors that influence who you can have a crush on: looks, proximity, similarity, reciprocity, and familiarity. Starting off with looks, it's pretty straightforward. Now, we're not saying that you can only have crushes on supermodels, but sometimes someone's features or the way they carry themselves can play a big role. Secondly, we have proximity. You are way more likely to have a crush on someone or find someone attractive if you see them all the time. This is called the mere exposure effect. The more familiar someone is, the more we tend to like them. Similarity is also pretty straightforward. Psychologists find that we are more likely to be attracted to people who share similar interests and values because it creates a sense of connection. Reciprocity means that if someone likes us, we are more likely to start liking them too. And last but not least, familiarity. People who remind us of someone we trust might seem instantly attractive. But here's where it gets tricky. These are things about your crush that makes you attracted to them, but they aren't the only things that impact who you have a crush on. In fact, peer pressure is a major influence on crushes. Studies show that a lot of crushes aren't just about how we feel, but how we think we should feel. Researchers found that crushes are often one-sided, and the people who are seen as crush-worthy tend to be the most popular, not necessarily the nicest. And for girls especially, there's this unspoken pressure to always have a romantic interest, or else people might think something is wrong.
Sometimes certain friends don't like the person that I have interest in, or and so that influences me, oh, I can't disappoint them or something, because I want both sides to be happy, but I usually sometimes you just forget about yourself in that situation.
And let's not forget movies, TV, and TikTok. A lot of what we think about love comes from what we see on the screen. But here's the problem. Media tends to show love as instant and perfect. They make it seem like if you don't have a relationship, you're missing out. But in reality, love is something that develops over time, not in a dramatic, slow-motion hallway scene. That's why it's important to reflect on why you might have a crush on someone, and to remember that just because you have a crush on someone doesn't mean they are a kind person. So make sure you value personality over status. So now we know why we develop crushes and what makes someone attractive to us, but let's be real. Crushes don't just stay in our heads. They influence how we act, sometimes in ways we don't even realize. Well, unless you're Dr. Mittens.
You humans and your silly little crushes. Getting all blushy-wushy. Oh no, I forgot how to speakily. Just because someone looks at you? Couldn't be me. I'm a cat. I admire from afar. And if I do like someone, oh honey, I make them work for it.
Now, if you're not a cat, crushes can make us do some silly things. Let's get into it.
Fall back in the chair. Awkward. Doing something stupid, flipping off of my chair. It's the same answer. Farting in the middle of the class.
Have you ever changed the way you dress just because you knew you'd see your crush in class that day? Maybe you walked a different route just to accidentally run into them. Or found yourself overanalyzing every text, every glance, and every little moment. These instances may seem funny, but there's a point where it stops being fun and starts becoming all-consuming. That's called limerence. Scientists describe limerence as an obsessive state where your brain can't stop thinking about one person, and it actually activates the same neural pathways as addiction. You feel a high when they talk to you, but extreme lows if they don't. This can lead to constant daydreaming about them to the point of ignoring real life, feeling like your entire happiness depends on them liking you back, overanalyzing every single interaction. And guess what? Social media makes this even worse. In the past, if you had a crush on someone, you'd see them at school and then go home. Now, you can keep up with them online 24/7, reinforcing those obsessive thoughts. Researchers say that limerence can feel like a mental trap. where someone isn't even in your life, but they still take up all your emotional energy. Now, all of this sounds super scary, and I bet you never want to have a crush again. But remember that a crush is supposed to be fun. Here are 5 strategies that you can implement in your life so that crushes can be healthy. First, recognize that a crush is just a feeling, not a life mission. Feelings come and go, and just because you have a crush doesn't mean you have to act on it. It's okay to just enjoy the feeling and let it pass naturally. Second, make sure to focus on self-worth, not just romantic attention. A crush shouldn't define your value, and your worth isn't based on whether or not someone likes you back. Instead, focus on what makes you happy, your hobbies, passions, and friendships. Third, be mindful of social media. If you find yourself constantly checking their Instagram or their activity, take a step back. Set limits on screen time and focus on the real-life interactions instead. Fourth, talk about it with someone you trust. Crushes can feel overwhelming, but talking about them with a friend, sibling, or trusted adult can help put things in perspective. Fifth, know when to seek help. If a crush starts affecting your mental health, like causing anxiety or obsessive thoughts, it might be helpful to talk to a counselor, which can help you get back on track. I've talked a lot about crushes, both the good and bad to them. But there's an important aspect to this whole dynamic that I've completely ignored, and Dr. Frosty is going to talk about it.
I'd love to talk to you about it more.
That'd be great.
Do you want to go out to dinner tonight?
Oh, is it?
Or something nice?
No.
What?
I'm
I
sorry.
just wanted to have dinner.
I'm dating Jim.
You're kidding.
Man, rejection. We've all been there.
Yes. Because they think I'm ugly.
Yes, because they already had a boyfriend.
No, because I never asked them.
I still like them though.
Yeah, I have. And at first it was kind of like for the first couple of days when I realized it was kind of, that's too bad.
I did have a crush on someone who didn't like me back. It was more so like they were sort of like leading me on in a way. Because they would act like very coupley, but at the same time they would like say like, "Oh no, I don't like you." I guess it felt very confusing and honestly kind of hurtful because I was like, "Oh well, I'm putting all this like effort in for you, but yet you don't see it." So it's a bit difficult.
You get your hopes up, you put yourself out there, then boom. They say, nah, I don't see you like that. Or even worse, they just ghost you. And suddenly, it's like your whole body just took an L. Stomach drops, heart races, and you end up wishing that you just didn't say anything. But hold up, what if I told you rejection isn't just in your head? It's literally in your body. Did you know that your brain treats rejection just like physical pain? Studies show that social rejection activates the same brain regions as physical pain. Specifically, the anterior cingulate cortex. That's why getting curved can feel like you just got hit in the gut. Some people feel rejection way more intensely than others. This is called rejection sensitivity, other known as RS, which means some people are wired to expect rejection even when it's not actually happening. In fact, research shows that adolescents with high RS often misinterpret neutral situations as rejection, which can lead to social anxiety and avoidance. RS can make rejection feel bigger than it actually is. Ever had a friend take a little too long to text back and suddenly think that they must be mad at you? Or waved at someone and they didn't wave back? So now you're convinced they hate you. That's RS in action. Step 1, reframe the situation. Just because you feel rejected doesn't mean you were rejected. A lot of the time, our brains jump to conclusions that just aren't true. Adolescents with high RS tend to overestimate rejection, especially in opposite gender interactions, even when their peers actually like them. So instead of, they didn't text me back, they must not like me, try, they're probably just busy. Also, Instead of saying, my crush didn't seem excited when I talked to them, I must be annoying, maybe try and say they were just tired or distracted. Step 2. Know the difference between attachment and fear. Rejection-sensitive people often cling to relationships, not because they're in love, but because they are fear of being alone. This means they might stay in unhealthy relationships or obsess over crushes that aren't reciprocated just to avoid feeling rejected. If someone doesn't like you back, it's not because you're not good enough, it's just a mismatch. So obviously, instead of thinking, what's wrong with me, shift to the mindset, we just weren't a fit. Think of rejection like trying on shoes. If the shoes doesn't fit, you don't blame your foot. You just try a different size. Step 3. Emotional regulation and social sensitivity. Rejection is harder to handle when we can't regulate emotions well. Researchers found that younger adolescents, especially those with high RS, struggle to regulate emotions effectively after perceived rejection. This makes rejection feel more painful than it actually is. What helps? Talking about it. Study shows that sharing emotions with friends activates the brain reward system, which actually helps people feel better after rejection. So next time rejection stings, don't bottle it up. Talk to someone you trust. Step 4. Normalize rejection. Happens to everyone. Literally everyone gets rejected. Your favorite athlete? Rejected. Your favorite celebrity? Rejected. Rejection isn't failure, it's part of growth. And here's the wild part. Rejection actually builds resilience. Scientists found that people who experience rejection and learn to handle it become more socially adaptable and emotionally strong over time. Step 5. Flip the perspective. Sometimes rejection is just life pointing you in a better direction. Ever not get what you wanted, only to realize later it was a blessing in disguise? Maybe that crush wasn't actually right for you. Maybe that missed opportunity led to something better. The right people, the ones who truly see you, will show up. You just gotta keep being yourself until they do. Step 6. When rejection becomes too much, seek help. If rejection starts making you feel anxious, withdrawn, or overwhelmed, it might help to talk to a counselor. Studies show that rejection-sensitive adolescents benefit from structured emotional regulation strategies, or guided peer discussions. We can all admit that rejection sucks. Next time rejection hits, feel it, learn from it, and laugh at it, and then move on. And if all else fails, at least you got a funny story from it.
Here she comes walking down the street, Maddie Klein and her fabulous loving machine. In the place where I used to be, he almost looks like a human being.
You have a crush, and if you do, describe them.
Yes, they're sexy, they have long hair, and pretty face.
No, because they're too sassy.
Yes, she has pink hair, pretty face, she goes to Horizon, and yeah, sexy girl.
Boys and girls, they probably, I figure they do experience crushes differently, because in one way, I guess like for a guy's mind, like it's seen as very straightforward. For most people, it's like, let's say if you say like okay in response with just an O and a K, like some people might take it like, oh, it's just like okay, and then some other people might take it like, oh, they don't like me, they don't want to talk to me.
Or, oh yeah, maybe one time, and that was the one where they didn't like me back, and so I was sad for like a couple of days, but then I had nothing to worry about because there's other people who can like me back, and it's just to move on, you know?